The Square Ball Podcast.
The show is brought to you by Levi Solicitors. They'll do you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Dan, Michael and Rob with you today to preview Aston Villa. They're on the agenda this midweek. We spoke about Aston Villa, actually, didn't we, on the Extra Ball? Me, you and Moscow did a thing on that click goal, which is well worth a listen. So if you are a TSB Plus member, by the way.
It's good fun, actually. I quite enjoyed watching it all back and remembering how
just a
chaotic it was.
A blow-by-blow account of all the different people getting involved and the punches that were swung, some of which landed, some which didn't. Some people fell over, some people got angry. It was great.
It reminded me, listening to that walking to that game, I had to wait outside the ground for my mate, and I heard someone cheerfully just walking into the ground turn to his mate and go, I think I've given up on life. He just after we'd blown promotion, and he just cracked on, went in, and good day. Yeah,
it was good for that. It kind of broke the that feeling, didn't it? Of just something new. Yeah, a nice change from failing to be promoted. Just do some bad sportsmanship instead.
Yeah, and I think because they pipped us to promotion that year, obviously we blew up spectacularly, and they got up through the playoffs, vanquishing Derby, which felt like, it was the lesser of two evils, we were saying, weren't we, over on the Extra Ball? Like when it came to that final, Derby versus Villa, you see Derby paying the price now. There was kind of the needle that was created by that game is kind of, it's dissipated a bit now, but it's carried on a little bit into the Premier League, hasn't it? Particularly at fan sort of level, maybe Twitter level.
Yeah, I think the fact that Dean Smith has now gone, I know Grealish wasn't directly involved in that, but he's always been an irritating presence.
He was the talisman of it all, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think the fact that those two have left Villa now, it takes a bit of edge off it, I suppose.
And for me, Villa are a Premier League club.
Yeah.
When we've said, like, the Premier League should always be formed by the teams that were in it when you were 13, so Swindon probably got a right to be in it.
Definitely.
Oldham.
This is where Brentford got cross with this, wasn't it? But like Aston Villa undoubtedly should be in the Premier League. Yeah. Like this is the level of respect we'll give to proper football clubs.
Yeah. And we have got one of them on Wednesday away. I predicted on the Phil Hayes show, I think we get something out of this game. I've just got a good feeling about it. I think we're due a Leeds performance after the disappointment of Newcastle. We need a reaction. Hopefully they've been frustrated during the break, the players, and they want to set it right.
I like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea of the break. And I think, was it Forshaw or Jack Harrison last week was saying that they had 3 sessions of murder ball planned, which I quite like the idea of. So, yeah, I think Bielsa getting the players together and just being able to beast them for a little bit, I always think, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And we've got Forshaw back. Bielsa confirmed today, which is huge as well, because I think we really, really missed him.
Are you suggesting we need a midfield?
Yes, some midfield.
Right.
It was weird walking to the Newcastle game, seeing the team line up and seeing us without the guy that we've been without for 2 years and going, oh shit, what are we meant to do now? I don't understand.
But I think he's a huge win for us to get him back, and Shackleton and Cresswell are also healthy. Bielsa described them as good, healthy young boys.
Good.
Neither will start, but if they're on the bench, I guess it's nice to not have to be kind of going, which debutant is going to have to come on and fill in this game.
It's a viable option, isn't it? That's the thing.
Exactly. And Shackleton covers, he gives us a midfield option as well as full back, which allows Dallas to move about and Ayling to move about and stuff. It's just nice to have some flexibility. The squad has been so limited in recent weeks that the team's kind of had to pick itself, hasn't it? Apart from Dan James up front, which didn't need doing.
It'd be interesting to see what he does with the centre forward position on this one. Because I think, although you think Bielsa doesn't bow to public opinion, I also think sometimes he does. I think he's very aware of it.
Well, he listens, and maybe he could be convinced. Not to
this, we should say.
Maybe he could be convinced by people that he's wrong. Yeah. Like if enough people have said to him, you should just play Joe Gelhardt, maybe eventually he'll go.
I actually think the court of public opinion, if he's as in tune with it as we think he is, and as we understand it, he reads just about everything that's written about him. They'll have it translated if it's not available to be translated on a website. He is very in touch with that. He's sensitive to what people think. Probably more so than if Victor Orta's banging on his door saying, play so and so, do this. He'd tell him to F off, wouldn't he? But
although he might be sensitive about it, so he can tell. He can have explanations as to why people are wrong. Because we've heard this as well, that he has disagreements with the medical staff about what weight players should be and all this sort of stuff, and he will go away and prove himself right with some numbers and that sort of stuff. Like he's very determined to be right, I think.
Yeah.
But you never know. Maybe he'll just play Gelhardt. I mean, Gelhardt is now presumably a lot fitter than he was for Newcastle as well, because he did also hint that he might not have been quite right for that game.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to see him. Would you like to see him up front in this?
I would like to see Gelhardt start. I think he's earned it more than anything. I must admit, I'm not as down on Dan James, the number 9, as everyone else seems to be. I think the problem with Dan James is he goes from one week playing there really well to the next week not even missing chances, not getting on the end of them. Because if you look at, at West Ham, perfect. All right, he missed a couple of chances, but we won the game and he led the line really well. And you can see why Bielsa wants him to play there and why it will work. And I think he's had games like that in the past against Leicester. I think pressing-wise, he was amazing. But yeah, it's just that bit in front of goal. The difference I always think between like James and Gelhardt is just Gelhardt's got those natural striker movements, not necessarily to score, but just to hold defenders off. He gets his arse in the way, like he uses his arse brilliantly, whereas James just doesn't have that instinct or that skill set, and he's not gonna because he's a winger.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. You tend to get the up and down performances from him up front, like you said. Like West Ham, it really worked, didn't it? Because we were trying to catch him on the counter, using pace.
But then if we don't win that game, do you look back at the chance that he passed straight into the keeper's arms and stuff, and then go, well, maybe a better striker?
Yeah,
the one where he was kind of put through on goal. And I think he tried to lob it over.
The result always sways your opinion of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because his off the ball stuff is so brilliant. Like I absolutely cannot fault the amount of pressing he does and stuff. It's amazing, and it would be so incredibly difficult to play against someone doing that.
Yeah, but he can do that from the wing as well.
I was going to say, you almost want him to just do that, and if it really requires a slight change of shape when Gelhardt does play, if he can't do that, that if temporarily Gelhardt goes off and marks a fullback and then lets James do that chasing around after the goalkeeper and the centre backs thing, that can work as well.
Because it is a really hard role as a number 9. That's the thing, isn't it? In the Leeds team, you have to do probably more work than anybody else. Certainly in bursts anyway, because Bielsa's system is set up to give them a spare man in defence, isn't it? Where you can't be hurt, obviously. But that means that the number 9 has to cover 2 men and often the keeper as well.
And you can see why Bielsa thinks so highly of James in that regard. And there was an interview with James chatting to Adam Pope this week where he was saying he reckons this run playing as a number 9 is really going to help him when he goes back to the wing. And I think we have seen more recently when he has played on the wing that he's looked better than he did at the start. And I would like to see Gelhardt start with a proper midfield behind him as well, because when he came on against Newcastle, I mean, Bielsa in his presser today said it, that's when he went with Tyler Robertson, Rodrigo behind him, and there was just a massive gap between defence and attack, and there was never any, Gelhardt never really got much of a sniff, did he? And yeah, I think if we were a bit more creative in that regard, rather than just giving it to Llorente or Ayling to kind of chip forward, it would be a lot more exciting to see Gelhardt in that team.
And I think he deserves a run, and I think he needs a chance to prove himself there, because it sounds from today like Bamford is still nowhere near, which is...
Bamford has not improved. He continues with the problems at the bottom of his foot, and he has not started jogging, so his situation continues the same way. He has an injury we cannot predict when he will return.
To have not improved in 3 weeks seems...
It depends on the pain,
weird.
The pain going away, so he can start jogging again.
I'm sure, like Ian Poveda, I'm sure has improved in 3 weeks, and he's had like a major injury. Whereas this Bamford one, it's a bit like the Strauch and Rodrigo ones, where they were like, they almost weren't saying. I mean, maybe they know what it is, and they're just not kind of explaining it fully. But it feels, I don't know, it feels like odd that we kind of go from week to week, not knowing if he's going to be out for a few days or a few weeks or a few months, and I think that uncertainty is a bit concerning. It's probably concerning for Bamford as well.
Well, again, it's the unknown part of it, isn't it? As you were saying there, we don't quite know what the injury is. If somebody could put a label on it for us, and then we go, well, that takes X amount of time. But the fact that they are neither putting a label on it nor a time frame just leaves you thinking, well, what is it? What's so wrong with his foot? Can't he use his other one?
And Bielsa himself says he's worried. He was asked if he was worried, and he says he hasn't played for 15 games now. How can I not worry? So that, it doesn't give you a load of confidence.
It's dragging towards being almost a full season out here, isn't it? We're looking at, which is an awful long time for a footballer to be out.
Yeah, the fact that it's been broken up ever so slightly by a 5-minute comeback or whatever it was against Brentford shouldn't really count, even though he did manage to score in it. But, I mean, which was the game he initially got injured in? It was Newcastle away, wasn't it?
And
that was a long time ago.
I suppose the weird thing as well is that the Brentford one, he scored and then pulled his hamstring, didn't he? So this is a different injury again, which you just get into the point where it's like, are we just going to have to write off this season here?
It was a long time. It was a long time ago, because that was Sports Direct Newcastle, not human rights problems Newcastle. Who else we got back then? So Cooper and Phillips in the final stages of recovery from their operations. So he's still loosely holding on to this beginning of March thing till they're back up to full speed. But you do get a sense with Phillips, as Phil Hayes touched on when we've done the Phil Hayes show, Phillips normally pushes through, maybe a little bit earlier than that. Don't know. We saw the pictures over the weekend that were probably very good from a PR point of view of them together on the grass again.
Yeah, and he mentioned Firpo as well. He kind of hinted that he might almost be fit for this one, but probably not. But he's not far off.
He said the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah. So.
Well, let's talk about Villa as well, because they have been a little bit rejuvenated by Steven Gerrard. He's had them doing what was described as a mini pre-season, I saw, to get them ready to face us, because I think they know they're going to face a lot of running.
The idea that he's rejuvenated them, I sort of thought that as well. And then I looked at the results. He hasn't really. They've beaten Norwich and Everton.
Right, is that
it? Yeah. Which, they're both absolutely dire. And I mean, the Everton is their most recent win, and Everton have absolutely fallen apart to the extent that they've had to employ Frank Lampard. So, has he done anything?
They came back against Scum, didn't they? But they're a laughing stock anyway. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm a bit unsure of what to make of them. And like you said earlier, I think now Dean Smith isn't there, I sort of feel like I'm not as interested in it anymore. There's only really Gabby Ogbonlahor who's sort of trying to keep it going, isn't there?
Yeah, it's interesting that what you say, actually. I hadn't sort of considered it in terms of the results. I'd gone on the general feeling.
That is the general feeling.
Actually sitting and looking at it, they lost 3 on the bounce. Yeah,
I mean, they've lost to Chelsea, fine, but then lost at Brentford.
The Man United was in the cup as well, so it didn't quite count.
But then they did draw with Scum hilariously in the league, which was quite fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not. It's not like he's completely transformed them, and they're now brilliant. They've got wins against teams you would expect them to beat, essentially, based on league position and form.
They're going to fancy this as well, though, against us.
Oh, yeah, but absolutely. And I think this isn't to slag Gerrard either. I think he probably is quite a decent manager. I know Phil was often kind of talking him up as someone that Leeds have had an interest in, looking beyond Bielsa. So I imagine that's gone now. He's at Villa. But yeah, I think he's well thought of. But I think it's a bit early to declare them transformed, I suppose.
It's kind of what getting new things does to a perception of something, doesn't it? Because they've got a new manager who people seem to like, and then they've signed Felipe Coutinho, and they've got Digne from Everton. It's like, oh yeah, this is going well. This is, great. We're going to be moving up the table now. And Gerrard went a bit Paul Heckingbottom in the quotes I saw, where he kept talking about they've been doing work in and out of possession, and he's going to revitalise them in and out of possession. It's like, all right, okay.
Every new manager thinks they're going to transform teams.
Yeah.
Have I talked you into us winning even more now?
Yeah, well, I always go into games like this thinking there's something there for us, and particularly like the Everton game to follow, which we'll preview that when we do, after we've done propaganda in the wake of Villa, so we know what we're facing in terms of any further injuries or people coming back.
Maybe Bamford will wake up with a fully healed foot on Wednesday morning.
The evolution of the injury is positive, etc. That kind of thing. But yeah, we'll preview Everton close to the weekend. But yeah, I just these next 2 games, I just fancy us to take a bit of something from them. I think we'll win one of them, maybe draw the other. But 6 points is there for the taking if we can just get in our stride. If we can do what we did against West Ham, take our chances, rather than what we did against Newcastle, which was not to take our chances, then we've got every chance.
So are you saying we should score goals when we can?
When we make chances, we should take them.
Okay, yep.
And when the opposition get chances, we should stop them.
Stop them having them.
Yeah. And I know I'm sort of feeding into them, leaning on your expertise here, Michael.
Yeah.
Particularly
no, it's good.
Coaching field.
It's all good stuff, is that, yeah.
So tell me why we shouldn't win this then.
Because of the rejuvenation and that. Because it's the miracle of Istanbul or something. I don't know. Just Steven Gerrard stuff. Yeah, it's there to be won. We can win it. Yeah. They're not brilliant. They've got some good players now. I think Coutinho is probably a good signing for him, if horrendously expensive given his wages and everything.
Well, I said on the Phil Hay show, didn't I? And what do you think about this, Rob? That when we play managers who've not faced us before, just occasionally we can catch them on the hop because they don't quite know what facing a Bielsa side is like. They can do the analysis, watch the videos, and tell the players to do X, Y, and Z. But the reality of being out there is that we run a lot of teams to death. I mean, even the Newcastle game, which we ended up losing, I mean, you saw the state of them towards the end. Like, who was it? Again, it was Fraser, wasn't it? Ryan Fraser, who was like hobbling down the bloody wing, trying to get back and cover Jack Harrison, who was still sprinting and, late on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just intrigued to see them under Gerrard because I can't say I watched a lot of Rangers, but like I say, I always heard Phil talking him up as a potential Leeds manager. I've not really seen a great deal of Villa. We were amazing there last year, weren't we? We won 3-0. That was one of my favourite performances of the season. So yeah, I'm hoping the Bielsa factor is kind of a thing over Gerrard. But then, did Gary Monk outsmart Bielsa? But there's just these random clashes, isn't there? So it'll be interesting to see Gerrard talking them up and whether they actually come out and attack us and leave us room to attack at them, which I think would suit Leeds, or whether he is a bit more pragmatic, which I'm not quite sure what to expect.
I feel like we're probably two fairly evenly matched sides. I feel like we're both probably due to finish somewhere between about 9th and 14th or something, and I think we're both within that kind of area. Could go a bit above it on a good year, a bit below it on a bad year, but it's a genuine competitive game, is this, whereas which you don't get when you go to Chelsea or Man City or whatever, when you think in all probability there's nothing in this. There's a game to be won here.
Okay.
But
my thoughts on
I'm
this
still pessimistic.
If Gelhardt starts, I think we can win this. I think he's going to score.
I think probably Dan James will start and Bielsa will prove us wrong.
It does beg the question, actually, which I brought up on the Phil Hay show, of if you do put Gelhardt in there up front, who is the more natural fit? He has to be, doesn't he? But what do you do then with your left wing? I mean, Harrison would have to play, wouldn't he, on the evidence recently? But Dan James is dangerous.
Yeah, I'd go Harrison. I can't remember what game it was recently. Was it the Burnley game where James came off the bench and looked quite sharp, and that seemed to suit him? Because he scored the header, didn't he? And yeah, I think Harrison with the hat-trick recently, I think you've got to go with him. And he's just Bielsa's boy, isn't he? Jack Harrison.
Yeah, and Click seems to have played himself back into better form recently. So would you go for Click in at number 10 and then Forshaw back in midfield?
Midfielders in midfield.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I feel like it works better when we do that.
There's no denying we do look better when we've got people in their natural positions, which is to be expected, isn't it?
Be interesting whether Cox the holding midfielder or Forshaw. Forshaw could be the box-to-box guy, or he could be the holding one.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Cox been all right there, so I'd probably stick with him.
Yeah, I think Cox done all right there as well. I feel like we lack a bit of, is it dynamism? That's the word I'm looking for. When it's Cox there, he's a bit centre-backy in some of the stuff he does, whereas Forshaw or Phillips are a bit quicker to turn and play forwards with it. But I think, for someone who's learning that position, I think Cox has done pretty well.
Are we going to win, Michael? Come on.
We'll have a draw.
You think draw?
I think a draw. Draw's fine. Beat Everton. If we got 4 points from this week, that'd be lovely.
It's a long way towards safety then, isn't it?
Yeah, even 3 points this week would be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably end up being wildly inconsistent between the two games, but we'll have another 3-0 there. I think that'd be nice.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You're absolutely correct. That's the word, is consistency. If we can do what we did a couple of weeks ago and string a couple of wins together, this season is as good as done and dusted, isn't it? I think the Newcastle result probably just scared everyone a little bit, particularly as it coincided with the end of the window. But if we can turn around and get some points this week, then be all right.
Well, I feel like weirdly Newcastle's window feels like that result matters less, because I think they'll probably be all right now anyway. So you're looking at which is, I know, it's a strange way of thinking of it.
Reverse engineering your justification, yeah.
Exactly, yes. I'm now thinking, the 3 to go down are definitely Watford, Burnley and Norwich, so it's fine. Newcastle can do what they want. That doesn't matter any more than any other home defeat.
Good. Well, that's it, isn't it? We'll do Heroes and Villains next week when we've had some football and some stuff to actually happen.
This week?
No.
After Villa? Just propaganda?
Next week.
We've not thought this through, have we?
Next week's weekly show. Yeah.
Okay. We'll pass them all forward.
Yeah. So we'll send them all down the line. Yeah. And we'll do Heroes and Villains, because the only real hero is, I think, Rafa went and scored for Brazil, but even then he's putting himself in the shop window. Stop it. So it would be a reluctant hero win for him this week, I think. But yeah, that does wrap it up for this one. We will return next week with a full fat show. We'll do Heroes and Villains then, and we will preview Everton towards the end of this week. And then who have we got the week after that?
It's Manchester United, isn't it?
Who? Apparently so.
Great bunch of lads. It's going to be a lovely family atmosphere.
I imagine so. The songs will be all rah rah rah, welcome to Ellen Road, won't they?
Exactly. All just competitive but friendly.
Yeah. So we've got Man United, then Liverpool, and then Spurs. So let's get 4 points out of these next games, shall we? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
The Square Ball Podcast.